Do you live in the US and want fast, fresh and tasty meals without the hassle of shopping or all that hard work preparation? Well, don't you worry, as a lazy man, I've got you covered. Try America's #1 meal kit service, HelloFresh, and get yourself fresh, pre-portioned ingredients delivered direct to your door. So why not eat well, stay healthy, and avoid the cost of regular takeout by trying HelloFresh? Just click the link in the description below for a special limited time discount and free shipping as well. Enjoy. Well, today we get the answer to the biggest question at a save so far. Will the Lisburn Distillery board let us turn professional? We've got just shy of £1 million in the bank. We've got more European football on the way. And as well as all of our usual end of season review, the coefficient check which will involve us for the first time. Let's go and have a look at whether we'll be professional come the end of this summer. Yes, hello and welcome along to an end of season review with Distillery with me, Daniel. We are back today to find out the answer to the age-old question. We'll do all the usual stuff. We'll have the formal season review. We'll plan our squad for the summer and what we want to do as we prepare for a second successive year in Europe and an opportunity to try and edge closer to Linfield at the top of Northern Irish football. We'll also have a look at the coefficients and all of that stuff too. But there's one big question to answer today. Will we be able to turn professional? We're just shy of £1 million in the bank, which for me has normally been the magic number. But we will ask at the start of this episode, and it will shape what we do in our end of season review and plans after it. So if you're looking forward to all of that, please do put a thumbs up on the video. If you missed any of the series or the playlist, it's up in the eye above. But let's get cracking, because there is a big question to be answered and an end of season review to have too. We're going to start by asking the board if we can go professional. Let's get through all of these other messages. We're back exactly where we left off after the cup final last time. So let's get the press conference done and then we will go and ask the inevitable question. Can we turn professional? And if not, do we keep saving the money or do we think about the facilities? I'm not sure which way I'm going to go yet. But let's go through to the finances. 975 grand. I think we've had all the income we can have this year now. We might get a bit more with season tickets next year and of course with another European qualifying run. But that's going to be harder now with more leagues loaded. So I want to see if we can get it done now. Let's go and ask the board. Can you let us turn professional? We're going to ask for finance, professional status. Please cross your fingers. No immediate response to say it's rejected, which is probably a good thing. But we don't know that that's going to be the positive yet. So we're going to skip ahead to whichever comes first. The answer to our question or the end of season review. We know the latter is on Monday morning. So let's see how quick this board get back to us. Well, I lied on two fronts because the board have come back to us with something else we need to know beforehand. It is Sunday afternoon and we have got our initial budgets for next season. I'm expecting the transfer budget to maybe go up a bit. But as you know, and as I'm famous for on this channel, I'm not going to spend it because I want to turn pro and focus on facilities. What we are going to do though is hope that the wage bill's gone up. It's currently just under 8 grand a week. If we can get it up to 9 or 10, that would be amazing. So the board have set the initial budgets. Cross your fingers, everyone. It's a bit better. 265 grand of transfer budget, 8.25 in terms of wages. So we're currently under it, which is a great thing. That's nice for us to have for now. But we're not going to be able to really bolster this squad. Although, to be fair, we don't really need to. We've got a young team with a lot of good players that are tied down for a year or 2 years. So it's not an immediate concern for us. What might be a problem is whether we can get these players tied down to new contracts on the same sort of wage they're on now. I guess that will depend on whether we're pro or not. Let's go and find out. We're on to Monday morning. I don't think we're going to get a quick answer here. Well, a couple of points to reflect on very quickly. Firstly, we've not had our end of season review on the Monday, which seems a bit odd because everything's done in terms of our season. I'm pretty sure it is anyway. We have had no news and we have got no further games. The other news is we have been rejected to turn pro and it's not even something we can discuss. So again, I'd imagine we're just under that 1 million mark and as a result they've just said no. It's a flat out response. So we are going to have to wait another year, which I've no doubt will hold us back a little bit. And we have reached this stage that's going to be very frustrating. And we did talk about it in the comments a couple of years ago. I know a lot of you have brought it up. These players are going to want a big increase in wage. So let me give you an example. The one who's out of contract this winter, who I really want to keep, is Brian Varma. He goes out at the end of December. He's on 400 quid a week. He's already our top paid player. He will not reduce his wage demands below 900, and that's after negotiation. He comes in at about 1.1 and then agrees to 900. We can't afford that. So this is where the problem comes. We either hemorrhage money, we have a great European run and go professional, or we get caught out and our squad starts to get weaker before we get to that stage. It's a really difficult crossroads, this. We have got to keep the majority of this squad together next year, and we have got to find a way to turn professional. With another European season, it should be fine, but that is a hammer blow. Let's move on to the end of season review. I've no idea when it's going to be, and then we'll decide what we're going to do with this squad. But the plans are probably going to have to be a bit less grand now than I'd originally intended. Well, here we go. We have got our end of season review now. It seems to have been held up by the reserves playing in the Intermediate Cup, which I haven't seen before, but here we are with our trophy. It was the League Cup this time. We beat Larne in the final, which we saw on camera. But the big news is we became the second best team in the league, which is something we didn't expect. Albeit Larne ran us very close, and it's too early to say that we're a better team than them. We are established at the very least as a top 3 side and regulars in Europe. Now, if we look at the signings this season, I think you can see why we've done so well. Neil Kane was a gem at the start of the summer. We've not found someone of that ilk this year. The likes of Varma, Wilson on freeze, brilliant deals. Varma, of course, likely to be off this year because he wants £1,000 a week, which is ridiculous. And then even the paid signings, Wood and McClelland, have done pretty well. Going further down, maybe Colin McCann, a bit of a disappointment. Came in January and really struggled to get going. Loads of injury problems too. Cooper, a great leader and of course a model citizen. And Tamindo Puarte, a bit like Umpardi on the right wing last year. Slow starter, got a lot better as the year went on. But again, if we look at the players that went out, you're continuing to see the progression of this team. Daniel Dobbin went off. Barry Coffey stayed in Northern Ireland, fair play to him. But then the likes of James Convey, Tom Wilson-Brown, Aidan McDowell, they were backup players last year. They are nowhere near the level of this team. So we're making a real progression. We've got to keep an eye on the homegrown quota. Players that we sign probably need to be Northern Irish. But overall, it's been a really good year. A real improvement to the squad. And I've got a feeling that we're going to be able to keep it going, at least for the first half of next year, before perhaps we lose the likes of Brian Varma. But second in the league is a wonderful achievement. Of course, the attendance is creeping up now as well. We're really starting to see bolstered attendance across the board in Northern Ireland. We had a couple of sticky spells, but overall, the last 3 months of the season were sublime. No defeats, loads of draws towards the end as well. But apart from Linfield and 1 or 2 odd off days, we have been very good against most teams. So pleased with the performances overall. The star of the season, of course, though, was right at the start. Beating Besiktas just about over 2 legs, 4-3 on aggregate in the end, and then going out to Nurkopin on penalties. But a really good run. We have loaded more leagues in, so it'll be trickier next season. But again, against those early qualifying sides, it might still be a little easier than we expected. The Northern Irish Cup, we of course were broken-hearted by Linfield in the final. We didn't quite get to defend our crown. In the League Cup, we did brilliantly. We won against Larne after a very fortunate win against Ballymena United. In the Antrim Shield, disappointment at home to Crusaders. That's the one that we've got left to win domestically. We go through to the moments to remember. The biggest win was that Shield first round match, a 5-1 win. 4 of the goals coming in extra time. We dominated that match so much, I'm amazed we didn't win it in 90. The match to remember was a 4-1 win at Glentoran, a really good result and another Mucklehatton hat-trick. And then the goal of the season was in a 3-0 win at Warren Point. And of course it's Morgan Griffiths, who loves a special goal. We stay 1.5-star reputation, no new sponsorships, but we are creeping up overall. And look at the difference in prize money and even broadcast revenue, just from a couple of qualifying rounds in Europe. Varma is the top shirt seller, so that might be a problem for next year, because he looks like he's going to be going in December. But let's look at the best 11. Everyone bar Cooper in the 7 points. You can't argue with that 11. That is our best team without doubt. So the accolades we got Manager of the Month 3 times last year. That's very good. Griffiths was Player of the Season and Young Player of the Year. Neil Kane the best signing. McElhatton top scorer. And Brian Varma adding some crucial assists from out wide. 21 clean sheets from Neil Kane. 37 league goals for McElhatton. broke Leon Boyd's record by 1 from the second tier, and we did pay a high fee for McClellan, but he did really good job. You've got to be fair, it was a proper signing in the end. A 1-0 win against Ballymena was apparently history in the making, but we win the League Cup, we make history, and we continue to progress and win trophies. Let's get ahead to the here and now. Can we get to the very end of it? We have got Bet McLean League Cup triumph, very good effort. Colin McCann on a free. Lots of talk still about the average signings, but the best ones were a little further back. You had Neil Kane, you had Harley Jones, and then the 2 wingers that came in as well. So lots of progress being made. We reached the 2030s in style, and we've got a few inductees into the overall best 11. Who are they this year? Sean Daniels straight into the 11, Archie Whitehall alongside him, and Ben Williams as well, despite the fact he spent the second half of the year on loan. We'll probably keep him involved next season. He's still good enough to be a backup. Now, the key things here, as we go a bit further down, supporter profile update, we're getting a lot bigger. More fair weather fans, more social media followers, and of course, although the fans only want to finish in mid-table, we have got European football now, which helps. The club expectations, though, are you going to be realistic? Be competitive in the Europa Conference League. In the league, now they are saying we have got to qualify for Europe. So that means either a top 3 finish, winning the playoff, or winning the Irish Cup. Not easy expectations if we start losing people like Varma. It's going to be a very important summer because we're going to need to get 1 or 2 in. Without that, I fear we might be in a spot of bother. A very good season regardless, though. That is the season review and how things look. But let's go and have a look at our squad, and you can see if you agree with me on what we need to do. Then we'll go and run through the coefficients. So if we have a look at the squad as it stands at the moment, we've got a few big decisions to make because we've mentioned the contractual situation. Varma and Griffiths are our best 2 players. There is no doubt in that in terms of ability. However, Varma seems to be wanting to go. Griffiths we've got tied down, but again, how long before we get offers for him? I'm a bit surprised no one's wanted at the minute. The one I am worried about, though, is Mark Wilson here. He is now rated as our best striker. Not got the best mentality, but he scored goals whenever he played this year off the bench, and he didn't make enough appearances, didn't play at all in the league. He should have done more. But my question here, particularly for next season, do we let him go to Glentoran because, of course, that bolsters the league and they'll give him a good contract? Or do I look at the other player who's probably going to be going, which is Cameron Cooper? He looks like he's going to be going in December because he's not playing enough football. He's not been as convincing when he's played. And he'll probably leave at the end of his deal. I can't see him signing a contract now. So do I give Wilson a deal, promote him to number 2, and try and get a bit of money for Cooper? Either one of those could be an option. There's not really much between them either, if we're being fair. So Mark Wilson either bolsters the nation or he bolsters us. Maybe Cameron Cooper will go elsewhere, but I fear he'd go back to Scotland. And then what do we do with the rest of this team? Because I actually look at the first 11 now. And bar Brian Varma, I don't think we have a weakness. I think we could improve in certain areas. We could get better at centre half. We could get better on the wings. But overall, we have got a very good squad. We just need to bolster a couple of backup areas. Make sure we get people tied down. And of course, you are seeing a few of those backups now drift to 2-star ability. Colin McCann was never probably a long-term fix. Will Ben Williams stay when he comes back from loan? Those are the questions that need to be answered. But I feel like this is the stage where I'm going to have my loyalty tested. Are we going to get offers for people that take some decisions out of our hands? Or do we have to prepare for these contractual situations? Varma at the minute is still listed as being worth 200 grand. If we can sell him for 6 figures with a sell-on fee, do we probably have to take that at this stage? Are we going to be able to get people in within our wage budget? Because Burns has agreed to sign a new deal. His is going to be at a similar wage, but a lot of the starters are wanting big boosts. And even though these guys are out of contract in December, most of the team is out of contract next summer, and most of them have got a similar viewpoint on their financial bearings. So I've got a feeling there might be more turnaround than I like next year. And if we don't go professional, do I gamble on that side as well? Can we go professional next May, at the end of next season, get it in preparation before, and then offer these guys professional contracts before they expire? It's a risk. We might lose out on a lot of money, but there might be some regeneration here. Let me know which option you would take. Would you gamble and try and go pro next summer and keep them all at the last minute? Or would you start selling them on and try and build another team? We don't use the player search screens. We've not got a big scouting team. It's not easy to find 8, 9, 10 replacements. Have we got to maybe chance it next year? I'm not sure what the answer is to that. I'm going to run through and offer as many reasonable contracts as I can. Just get a core of a squad tied down. But although there's not a lot of improvement needed on paper, I've got a feeling we're going to be forced into a bit of it. Let me know what you think on that. The striker situation. Of course, it doesn't need to be said, but the ones that are out of contract will be going. Brown, McGill, Hart, Moore, all good servants, nowhere near good enough now. And then the big question is Michael Hammond, because we're looking at the homegrown status both for Europe and, of course, for domestic action too. If we look at players that will become homegrown at the club, Hammond is one of the only ones. We've got Scott this summer, which is going to be great. Griffiths will happen next year. Hammond is one we've got to do. He's out of contract in December, so I'm going to try and extend his loan for 6 months, and then maybe we can get him at the end of his deal. Something we did with Callum Wilson. We waited for him to be released, then his wage demands dropped massively, but Hammond might end up being wanted by other clubs. We've got plenty of others trained in the nation, and Mark Wilson is one of those, so that's something we might have to consider too. But let me know your thoughts on all of the squad news. Let me know what you think I should do with certain players and where you think I should improve the team, because you might have a different view to me. While you do that though, we're going to head over to the coefficient screen. It's the first time we're worrying about it as both a club and a nation, because we had European football this year. We did our little bit, and maybe it'll get us seeded in the first round. But of course the key is how much Linfield and the nation are progressing. Well, we'll start with the nation, and it does look, unfortunately, like Northern Ireland has hit a bit of a wall here. We've got 2 more poorer years to drop off, albeit they're not that far away, and we need to have big seasons. If we don't, I can honestly see it starting to drop back again. The aim in the next 2 years is to get up to the top 32, because that's when you start to see a difference. That's when you start to get impacted. When you look at qualification places there, that's when you get another team into the Europa League instead of the Europa Conference. A huge difference and almost a double opportunity to try and get through. So that would make a big difference to the nation. To do that, we're going to need the clubs to deliver. Well, let's have a look at where their coefficients stand. If we get up to Northern Irish football, Linfield, of course, progressed again. Larne didn't make the groups this year. They had a poor year in the league as well. And we only got to the 3rd qualifying round. So it's not as strong as it could have been. But for the first time, we get points at the moment. Not strong enough to push us past the nation coefficient. But if we can do that 2 or 3 years in a row, it will start to add up a little bit. Larne, you can see, are very good. They're still actually due to be above Linfield the year after next, because Linfield lose their brilliant year next year. But they have consistently been good for 3 years in a row now. Whereas Larne have had a great year, a poor year, a great year, and then a poor year. We need them to have a pretty good one this time around. But the one thing you've got to say, both Linfield and Larne in the top 163 places in Europe. That is a pretty good effort. Both of them progressing nicely. Linfield now in the top 150. Coleraine was the big blow this year. 3 or 4 years in a row in Europe, then they missed out. So it'll be interesting to see if they win the playoff. We'll have a quick look at how that's progressing in a minute. But then it's all down to us. Can we join and get the same coefficient as Larne and Linfield? If we can do that in the next few years, Northern Irish football will push on. If not, if we don't get it, or if Larne start to drop off, it's probably going to be an issue. And the big question will be, when we eventually do make it to the top of Northern Irish football, will the other sides deliver through qualifying? We'll find out that as we go along, but the signs are good at the moment. Linfield continue to improve massively. So let's just see how it's looking in the European playoff at the minute. The final is Cliftonville v Glentoran. Coleraine went out to 7th place Glentoran. Cliftonville beat Crusaders. And that adds another problem, because it was Ballymena this year. It was Coleraine the 4 before. And now we're going to get a different side again. So we've got to try and get consistency between which sides are in Europe. Build the nation that way. But thankfully, Larne and Linfield are ever present. They're going to be a crucial part of this now. And fingers crossed Linfield, with what should be a good amount of money at the club, will continue to invest in their facilities, which are improving all the time. And maybe it will spend money like they did this year. 350 grand this season. Nearly 300 the year before, nearly 300 the year before that. McAllister, who scored that final winner against us this year, he came from the EFL there. And they're paying big wages as well, which will maybe tempt some. To have players on 4.5 grand a week, nearly 6 in the case of McGuckin, that's keeping players in the nation. He's worth £1.5 million. He's a Northern Irish international, and he's still playing in the Irish Premiership. That is a sign of how far we're going. And in fact, let me finish off with the one thing we didn't do. which is have a look in Europe at where the leagues are ranked, because the Irish Premiership, and in fact we could have seen it on that screen, couldn't we, has been progressing constantly. It's now into the top 60 for competition reputation. I'm not sure what that translates to in star ability. It's 2-star, but we are up there with some pretty decent leagues now. So we're talking about the second tier in Scotland, 10 away from the Irish Premier Division in the Republic of Ireland, and a half a star away from the likes of League One. If we can start to sign players from that level in the Irish Premiership, that's going to make a big difference. So lots of positives. The AI is doing much better than we've seen before. I just hope now that the likes of Larne and Coleraine, who are slightly aging in their squads, manage to get that regeneration that we wanted to see. If you want to stay up to date and find out if they do, and you did enjoy this season and end of year review, please do put a thumbs up on it and subscribe for daily FM23 content. Let me know what you think about my squad plans and being rejected for going pro. Hopefully those finances will creep up. We can get it secured sooner rather than later. We'll be back early in the summer, of course, because we'll have pre-season qualifiers in July in the Europa Conference League. Fingers crossed it will get a bit trickier with all the extra leagues loaded. But either way, we need a little bit of money. So hopefully we'll get a good first round draw. While you're waiting for that, we will be back with the head coach tomorrow. You can see our latest season from our new club up in the eye above. There's also our new blog post, our sponsor, and of course the Twitch channel and football podcast too. It's all happening over here. I really appreciate your support with it all. We'll be back here in a couple of days' time for a new season, maybe some very big and important transfer news, and of course, our first European game of the season. I hope to see you there for it.